Hi everyone, welcome in. I know it's been like 1,000 trillions of years since I have done any videos for you guys, which I super duper apologize for. Your girl is sorry, trust and believe, and I'm not really using my normal mic that I would use for these type of things, so just forgive the background noise. It's hot as hell out there, so my AC's pumping through the roof right now. As for some other things, I have decided to read live because it's legit like been a trillion, the thousands of billions of years. So I was like, fuck it, might as well. Life has been going pretty interesting for me, y'all. Your girl does have her job, T. That's why I haven't been able to post too much for you guys, which again, I do sincerely apologize for, because I know I'm like hella delayed and everything. But life has been going pretty good. Casper is better. If anybody has seen my recent communities post, yes, Casper is doing well, and yes, he is getting better. So he's just literally like taking a fat nap on my bed for some reason, like a lazy little butt. But he is alive and very, very much well. As for some other things, this is also like a semi-test live because I'm also on a new computer. Oh my gosh, can't believe it. Yes, I'm actually on a new computer. This one is way faster than my other one, because my old computer that you guys know well and love and is well known for her glitches, especially when it came to me going live, she is finally probably gonna hit the bucket, hit retirement. Let's just say them glitches were pretty bad, and I had to restart live like multiple times. By the way, if you guys can hear me, just let me know, because this thing is a little bit still troubleshooting. I lost the cable that was the original cable to my microphone, so my microphone, hopes and prayers is all. I was able to find a cord that would fit, and that actually worked, because microphones require like a specific connection, but luckily for y'all, this one actually works. So yeah, just let me know if I don't. Just, I'm gonna cry. Whatever it is, what it is. Oh my god, hi. Oh, thank you so much, you're so sweet. I'm sorry, life has been so busy, and I haven't had time. And the thing is, the problem has been, the main reason I haven't really been posting also is because I've been having a lot of editing issues. Now, it's not the app itself. I personally use Caden Live. I love it. The thing is, my computer couldn't really handle my edits anymore, and it kept glitching out. So every time I did something, it would take me days, even like almost a whole week to edit, when it would just take me like a day. So yeah, that's what happens when you have a 8 GB RAM computer. So if y'all want to edit yourselves, or have you want like a faster computer, get a 16 GB and higher. The computer I have currently is a 16 GB. It's a new one, so I'm also testing it out. Yeah, I look like a mess, so y'all can't see me right now. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting off the track here. But today I wanted to read to you guys Human Fnaf X Listener Book 3. There's a lot of backstory to this book, and the last chapter we read was actually a Valentine's Day special. But before that, it was the, ¿cómo se dice? It was the kind of the reveal of Springtrap did something to, or William Afton, that's inside of Springtrap, that's controlling Springtrap, did something to Golden Freddy and Foxy to make them barely able to control themselves. Now, you might be like, what does that even mean? I honestly don't know, because all of this has changed, and all of their original books, other than this one, is still active. They have around 3 books, and it's completely out of whack. That's why I try and recap to the best of my memory, because there was people begging me years ago to read this. So it's the least thing I could do. Anyways, that's kind of the recap-ish I can give you guys. By the way, shout out to the author, Dream Witch X. Love their stories. I have seen some recent posts of some amazing fanfic writers moving on to actually writing like physical books. So congratulations to those authors as well. I will be sad they're leaving kind of the fan fiction community. Oh my gosh, they will greatly be missed. I had some notifications about that and I just wanted to like kind of push that out in the air. Anywho, we is in chapter 34. If y'all can't see it, y'all let me know, okay? Thank you. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I do this. Okay. Sorry, this is my clunky phone around here. 1800s type shit for real. Anyways, we're in chapter 34. This is when it starts getting like really like we got revealed that like Freddy saved us and Golden Freddy and Foxy I think are in a really bad fight. Or no, it was the Marionette and Foxy that got real no, Foxy whooped his ass. Like I'm talking the ass whooping of a lifetime. Like the ass whooping of a lifetime. So, you know, that was something for sure. The last thing I remember is that like Marionette basically told us to run and we ran like crazy. We ran. And we ended up running into somebody, and that was Freddy. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Oh, hold on. I'm going to do this. Okay. Anyways, let's get started. Because I just texted y'all, or put in the communities if y'all can hear me. If y'all can hear me, please comment back because I want to make sure, because I know this thing is stupid sometimes. So please, thank you. Anyways, now let's actually get on with this for real. Chapter 34, your POV. Freddy's concerned blue orbs gaze down at you, the familiar sincerity in them making you not only want to start sobbing again, but this time out of relief. Freddy was okay. YN, he murmured quietly, narrowing his eyes. He delicately lifted a hand to your cheek, rubbing his thumb over the stain your tears had made. You placed your hand over his, and almost immediately felt many gashes and cuts just on the back of his hand alone. Remember, Springtrap did torture them, so just to be crystal clear. You were grateful there was only light enough for you to see his eyes. You didn't know if you could handle seeing the rest of him. His hand tensed up slightly at your touch, knowing that you could feel the wounds. Freddy was always like that, not wanting to expose you to more gruesome aspects of the original's lives. Goldie was too. That was always something you loved about those two. As your thoughts dragged themselves back to Goldie, to the fight, you found yourself practically throwing yourself onto Freddy, wrapping your arms around him in a tight hug. Immediately, he reciprocated, pulling you into a warm embrace. That was exactly what you needed, exactly what you could depend on Freddy for. A shoulder to cry on, a knight in shining armor, a knight in shining armor was exactly what you needed right now. Freddy, you wailed miserably. Foxy and Goldie, You buried your face into his shoulder, pathetically sniffing and sobbing into his probably blood-soaked shirt. They're not with you. Freddy mumbled, placing a gentle hand on the back of your head to calm you. What happened, Angel? Foxy killed Jack, you explained, trying your best not to stutter too much so he could understand. He went after Goldie too. I couldn't stop him. I ran. You didn't have to look up at him to know that he would have a sore look on his face. Please. You begged sorrowfully. Please, Freddy, make them stop. So let me get this straight. You asking a man, right, that has been tortured, that looks like probably a bloody mess to stop Listen, I know I would probably get my ass whooped and killed, but I don't think it's really fair. Hold on, I'm gonna lower this like little dramatic sea of echo right here. There we go. That's a little better. I think it's crazy to accept that type of craziness, because what the hell? What the hell? Anyways, she's crazy, and I know it's desperation, but like still, that's not really good. Asking a tortured semi-humanoid person to stop a fight that they're like, I think y'all understand what I'm trying to say. Anyways, please, you begged sorrowfully, please, Freddie, make them stop. Freddie gave out a sigh, and you felt him nod as he nuzzled into your hair affectionately. Slowly and very, very reluctantly, he let go of you. Standing up to his full height, he extended a hand down to you, which you eagerly took. He helped you to your feet, and and let you lean on him for a while as you were unsteady. You didn't get caught up in their fight, did you? Freddie asked gently, brushing your hair out of your face with his hand. You looked away, knowing he wouldn't be happy to hear the answer. He certainly wasn't when he figured it out, in any case. Taking hold of your hand softly, he began to guide you through the dark hallway, back the way you came. Freddie seemed more grouchy now that you told him what happened, and though it was true that he was mad about the situation and at those two, you know you could count on him to not get tangled up in the fight as well. Those jackasses, Freddie muttered irritably. I can't count on them for anything. The bitterness and underlying scorn in his tone made your eyes widen slightly. He wasn't saying that playfully like he normally did. There was actual hatred behind that comment somehow. You were a little worried to find out why. Freddie? You asked nervously, your voice timid and quiet. He slowed his pace to talk to you, but you both kept walking towards where you left Goldie and Foxy. Yes, Angel? His tone was lighter now, and surprisingly more cheerful. His demeanor went from, don't talk to me, I'll rip your face off, to peaceful and calm, just because you opened your mouth and said his name. Even before, you're able to calm the animatronics down when something happened, or put them in their place if they really needed it. But this was something new. Just hearing you say his name made Freddie relax so much, it seemed to shock him even slightly. Was it just because he had missed you as much as you had missed him? You couldn't tell. And though it was a little off, you decided to just let it go. Without an answer from you, Freddie turned to look at you, a soft smile on his face. You felt lucky. Freddie noticed you were a bit lost in your thoughts, so he decided that he'd say something. Chica's at your house, if you were worried about her. Blinking owlishly, you stopped in your tracks. Wait, you mean Chica's okay too? You asked eagerly, your eyes wide. He gave a small nod, his smile stretching wider as his electric blue eyes lit up happily at your reaction. I left her in the guest room downstairs. She's all right. You'd never been so relieved to hear anything in your life. Not only had Freddie made it out, but he took Chica with him. She was safe, probably sound asleep in bed as you spoke. How did you get out? You asked curiously. Goldie only made it out with Foxy, and you guessed that he had left right after you fell asleep. It took him a good few hours to come back, yet Freddie and Chica had made it out together? Freddie didn't seem affected by what had happened, with that either being because he was hiding what he was feeling to spare you, or simply because it was easy for him to get out. You were curious to know the truth. He gave a short laugh. It's a bit of a long story, YN, but I'll tell you the gist of it. You eagerly anticipated his answer. To put it simply, the shadows aren't quite as smart as they'd like to think. Freddie shot you a playful wink. Got a hold of the keys to the cell while they weren't paying attention. Got myself out, then went to find Chica and got her out too. We almost got lost trying to find the exit, but we eventually made it before Vincent noticed and went straight to your house. Chica was a little more... She wasn't quite well enough to make it to the pizzeria, so I left her at your house to rest. She told me she couldn't sleep a wink until you got back, though. She was adamant about it. You smiled. It didn't seem like they had a hard time at all. Sure. And you were grateful for that. Even despite everything else they went through, they still seemed the same as they were before. You couldn't have been more relieved. Okay. What an interesting way to look at that. Chica and Freddy were okay. Now, all that was left was, what about Bonnie? Is he still there? You asked worriedly. Freddy froze completely. He looked away. Immediately, you were alarmed. The hair on the back of your neck stood on end, and a feeling of overwhelming dread washed over you like a tidal wave. Something had happened to him. Something was wrong with Bonnie. Freddy had gone back for Chica, and could have helped Bonnie, but it was as if it didn't even cross his mind. Or maybe he had a reason not to. Nothing else mattered anymore. Not the fight, not Jack. The only thing on your mind was your purple-haired friend. You walked in front of Freddy and stood face to face with him. You looked up at him, but he couldn't meet your gaze. Freddy? You pleaded, your voice on the edge of cracking. What happened to Bonnie? He didn't answer you. Freddy? Please, you begged. Please, I have to know. Though it was dark, you could see his sapphire eyes cloud over with a sorrowful emotion, almost physically turning his orbs a darker blue. Something horrible happened to Bonnie, something that even being essentially immortal would not be able to fix. I have a theory. You latched your hands onto his shoulders. Your grip was tight, almost digging into his skin. Freddy! Your voice was almost a growl. Tell me! Your tone was urgent, desperate. Something the animatronics tended to do was to keep you in the dark about everything. But this was something you refused to brush off. You absolutely needed to know what happened to him. Freddy still refused to look at you. You were almost about to downright scream at him to say something, to tell you what happened, and he would absolutely not give you the slightest glance. Before you could open your mouth to speak another word, Freddy finally turned to you with a hollow look in his eyes, his gaze stern nonetheless. I think all of us should be together before I say anything, he explained, his tone lacking much emotion. It wouldn't be right to tell you here. You narrowed your eyes at him. He looked like he was in pain, even just trying to avoid the topic. You didn't know what had happened, but you knew it was bad. Bad enough to even make Freddy look pale. Bad enough that it was difficult to meet your gaze, when Freddy should have been brimming with gentlemanly confidence instead. Okay. You gave a faint reply, letting go of his shoulders and stepping backwards away from him. If it was going to be something bad enough to make even Freddy wary, then you would wait. He had just gotten back from wherever the hell Vincent had kept him. He had even brought Chica back with him, though he was still severely wounded. And you're asking him to defend you in a fight? I don't understand this, girl. The logic is not logicking. The logic is not logicking. It's not logicking. No, it's not. Sigh. You weren't going to force it out of him yet, if it really was as awful as it seemed. Especially not with him being in the state he was. Despite the solemn look in his eyes, there was a slight hint of gratitude in them that he showed to you. You figured the worst. Taking a slightly shaky, deep breath, you spoke quietly. Let's just deal with Foxy and Goldie first. We can talk about Bonnie when we get back to my house. Freddy bit his lip, a small frown making its way to his face as he looked down. Knowing Freddy, it was likely he was beating himself up over the fact that he wasn't able to tell you. He spoke up before you could say anything, clearing his throat before falling into step behind you. You did ask me to stop them, so I think it's about time we head over there so I can give them a lesson. You only gave a small, conceited nod, leading the way down the hall to where the red fox and the golden bear were. You were sick of crying. You just wanted to get this whole ordeal with Vincent over with and move on. You had to suck it up and face the facts sooner or later. And you figured now would finally be the time. The animatronics were already shaken up about what they went through, and they had to worry about you. On top of that, No. You were gonna get your shit together. For their sake, if not yours. It only took a minute or so to get back to Goldie and Foxy. And both of you and Freddy were surprised at what you saw. There was blood everywhere. In the middle of the hall were the two guys you were looking for, both nearly covered head to toe in blood. Goldie's eyes were a crimson red, just like Bonnie's. You shook your head at the comparison, before beginning to walk over to them. Freddy caught your arm before you could go anywhere, though. You turned to look at him. Stay here, he mumbled, icy blue eyes glaring daggers at the two in front of him. You blinked, then silently nodded. Silently nodded your head as you stared after Freddy with wide eyes. He calmly walked over to the two of them, who didn't notice him until he spoke. You didn't clearly hear what he said, but it made Goldie and Foxy turn to face him with wide eyes, completely abandoning their fight for just a moment. Whatever they were fighting about didn't really hold a candle to the fact that Freddy was now magically back, without needing to go get him. You figured it was safe to walk over, and when you did, you noticed a wide smirk on Freddy's face. You tilted your head in confusion. You guys took too long, you independable motherfuckers. Freddy spat, though his smirk never faded. I can't even trust you to behave and look after YN, especially now when she clearly needs us. You didn't really understand the way he worded that. You didn't really appreciate the way he worded that. Yes, you knew that you had been a bit of a handful since the originals were taken away. But Freddy had just gotten back, and he sounded like he was already done with you and your emotional baggage. You pouted angrily at him, a faint blush on your cheeks. Can't help it if he's right. Boop, boop, be-doop. Asshole, you thought, embarrassed. You didn't have to say it like that. Once the initial shock wore off, Foxy looked back to Goldie with a vicious glare. Guess now we really don't have any reason to keep you around, Blondie. Right back to square one. Freddy looked slightly confused at Foxy's sudden hostility towards his brother, though he did try to hide it. Foxy, you stepped forward, slightly hesitant. That's enough. He didn't look at you, his fiery gold glare fixed on Goldie, who was more than willing to return the favor. You're too soft, YN. Foxy snarled viciously. We've got the strength to get rid of him now. Why would you even bother trying to save his skin after everything he did to you? Your face was the image of pure tranquility. Yes, Goldie had been your enemy in the beginning, but that was long forgiven and forgotten. So for some recap on this, basically, long story short, in the very beginning of the story, like book 1, Freddy was very much against us and tried to kill us multiple times. I think he kidnapped us once in the story, but after that, kumbaya later on, you know what I'm saying? Basically, long story short of that. I wish I could show you guys, but I can't because the book does not exist anymore. Okay? Thank you. Anyways. Yes, Goldie had been your enemy in the beginning, but that was long forgotten and forgiven and long... Oh my god. That was long forgiven and forgotten. In any other situation, you would have been eager to tell him off, to prove him wrong, except he wasn't wrong this time. Foxy was right in one regard. You were too soft. You know what? Your voice mumbled out quietly. You're right. Foxy only nodded, his expression growing more fierce. Glad. You finally get it. Without warning, you stepped in front of him, slapping Foxy clean across the face. Ouch. Your hand stung from the impact, but you brushed it off. You had been far too easy on the originals as far as their tempers went, and their behavior, though slightly justified, was often inexcusable. Every single time, without fail, you'd forgiven them. You forgave them for attacking Mike and Jeremy on several occasions. You forgive them for killing all of your previous classmates over some insignificant cyberbullying crap they started. I remember that. But threatening to kill one another? Freddy and Goldie gawked at you, completely taken by surprise at your action. They were silent, at a loss for words. A large red imprint of your hand on Foxy's cheek could clearly be seen. Even in the dark lighting of the hall, Foxy was frozen. His head turned all the way to the side. His mouth slightly fell open in disbelief. You'd actually hit him. Admittedly, you spoiled the animatronics a little bit. For the most part, they were used to you just being upset with their actions, then ultimately forgiving them. But now you'd actually stepped up to the plate and set one of them straight. You gave Foxy a challenging look, your eyes narrowing sharply, daring him to do or say anything else that would only aggravate you more. Slowly, very, very slowly, Foxy's wide amber orbs shifted to look at you, his head eventually following suit as he turned to face you in shock. YN? Foxy's voice was barely a whisper, his pale face against the red mark on his cheek, which was fading away quickly. Foxy? You called loudly, snapping him out of his shock. He jumped slightly at your sharp tone, the fire in his gold orbs almost completely gone, replaced by evident fear. Your expression suddenly softened, taking on a more upset demeanor. Do you always have to fight about everything? That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy work. That's crazy. Whoo, girl. I don't know how to feel. Okay, let me see. Okay, let's see. Where am I at? Damn, I lost my place. No. Okay. Foxy immediately stiffened. His fox ears drooped low on his head. You were scolding him. He had messed up, lost control, and you had to correct him. You frowned at this, your tone going more quiet. Not everything has to be resolved with violence. You know that, don't you? Foxy flinched at the word violence. Pausing, you regretted your words of choice. Reaching forward, you gently took Foxy's bloodied hand in yours, though it was hard to fight away the feeling of disgust, knowing the blood was Goldie's. His hand twitched uncomfortably in yours, but he settled slightly at your soothing touch. You gazed up at him, but he was too ashamed to look you in the eyes. That's crazy. We can talk, you offered softly. I promise. You can tell me anything, Foxy, so we don't have to fight anymore. His golden orbs finally looked down at you. I'm sorry, Foxy whispered dejectedly, only for you to hear. You gave a faint smile. Your Foxy was back. Don't worry about it. With a small sigh, you pulled away from him, looking back to Freddy, who was still stuck in the initial shock of the slap. Goldie was just as stunned. Chica's waiting back at home, isn't she? You asked, a slightly happy tone in your voice. Freddy suddenly blinked for a second, then realized that you just asked him something. He shook his head, snapping himself out of his trance. I'm sorry, what were you saying? He stuttered, nervously rubbing the back of his neck. You gave a defeated sigh. Let's just go home, everybody. Wrap it up, woo woo! Your front door was unlocked, unsurprisingly. Freddy probably found the spare key under your doormat to open, which you guys should not do because people will be robbing like crazy. Just letting you know. Just letting y'all know. Anyways. And with everything on his mind, you didn't blame him for not locking it again. With a small sigh, you step inside your home, and of course your first thought was your blonde-haired friend. Chica, you called. Almost immediately, you heard shuffling noises coming from further inside your house. Behind you, Freddy shook his head. We should probably go find her before she kills herself trying to get out of bed. You nodded as you let out a knowing sigh. Heading for the downstairs guest room, even before you even got there, you could hear a few thuds. and it really did sound like she was having a rough time with whatever she was doing. Worriedly, you picked up your pace, and before you could reach the doorknob, the bedroom door swung open, revealing two bright violet orbs of a familiar blonde that gazed at you in surprise. They softened in relief at the sight of you. YN! Chica lunged for you, her arms wrapped tightly around your torso, tackling you into the ground. The smaller blonde buried her face into your shoulder. Almost immediately, she burst into tears. You hit your head on the wall opposite the guest room door with a small thud, but the pain was irrelevant compared to having your friend back. Freddie wasn't kidding when he said that she wasn't quite well enough to make it to the pizzeria. In fact, that was an immense underestimate, which is crazy. Chica was covered head to toe in blood. That's crazy work, bro. Oh. Chica was covered head to toe in blood-soaked bandages. One particular bandage running around the back of her head. Her yellow dress was torn and dirty. Her blonde hair unkept with spots of dried blood between her yellow locks. It pained you to see her that way, but you didn't show it. Chica needed you to be strong right now, and so you would be. You placed a gentle hand on the back of her head, trying to soothe her. YN, she wailed. Bonnie! You froze. Chica felt you tense up, and she did too, as if regretting bringing him up at all. And you weren't mad at her for it, not one bit. She was hurting, physically and emotionally. She couldn't help but to have let his name slip out after what had happened to him. You knew it was bad. With dreary eyes, you slowly gazed up to the three remaining males standing off to the side of the scene of you and Chica. Goldie couldn't look at you, his gaze at the floor. Freddie only stared at you knowingly, yet pitifully, his blue eyes solemn. Foxy only glared in your direction, though it wasn't you he was angry at. Everyone knew what had happened. Everyone except you. That's how it always was. Foxy's piercing golden eyes met yours, and he opened his mouth to speak the words you wished you had never heard. In a tone so full of unearthed pain and regret that ultimately worsened the blow. Bonnie's dead, YN. That's crazy. Nah, bro. And the thing is, a couple chapters ago, she was like, oh, I'm so sorry I cried. It's just like, my friend took me there, you know. Because I think Mango was trying to, like, earn her forgiveness and shit. And he was like, I think it's they here, was like, oh my god, like, I'm so, you know, this, da. And I was like, that's actually so sad, what? Because Bonnie took her to this, like, really pretty garden or whatever. It was crazy, chat. I was like, in dang near tears. It was the saddest shit ever. I was like, oh, now that he's dead is crazy. Anyways. Anyways, guys. We're in chapter 35. Second POV. The chime of the clock on the wall marked another hour. Another hour that the animatronics had anxiously waited for you to return. Another hour that had passed without your presence. Chica sat dutifully by the window overlooking your front lawn, just the same as she had been since you left. Aside from the random raindrops as they pounded against the roof, the usually noisy home was quiet, as none of the originals spoke a single word to each other since those few hours ago. Part of downstairs and the furniture in those respective rooms laid broken and beyond repair after your outburst, and no one cared to clean up the wreckage. No one really cared to do anything except to wait. Of course, it had crossed their minds to go after you, to make sure you wouldn't hurt yourself and to wouldn't get hurt or end up hurting yourself, but no one had the heart to. Besides, how could they? How could they even face you after everything they'd done? It really was just as you said. Even if your hurtful words were the irrational and hasteful products of your overpowering emotions. They held truth. It was true that they knew about his death and decided to keep it from you. It was true that they shoved the fact of your so-called immortality, their so-called immortality, in your face every day, which ultimately worsened the blow. It was true that they kept you in the dark about a lot of things. It was true that they were wrong in their judgment, and that the fault of your rage was theirs and theirs alone. And then, with all those things that had finally been revealed to their eyes, they thought more on your words, reflecting, doubting. The more they pondered, the more they realized that you were right. You had been absolutely correct in everything you said, whether you truly meant to say it or not. Guilt gnawed at their already wounded hearts as it finally dawned on them how selfish they'd truly been. Why had they kept neglecting your worries, your concerns? Why did they always try to lie to you about every little thing? Why had they chosen to deliver the news to you when you were emotionally and physically weakened at the weakened state you were? They didn't even know why they had asked themselves those questions, knowing that there wasn't an answer, and if there was, it was one they weren't going to like. Chica drew her knees to her chest, gazing wearily out the window in the falling rain. She was half hoping to see you come home, and the other half was hoping that she wouldn't have to face you for a while. She didn't think she had the strength to. She didn't think she had the strength to, not after everything that happened. The small blonde shivered uncomfortably as she replayed her memories in her head. None of the originals had anticipated that kind of reaction out of you after you found out. They were prepared for tears, for endless nights of you staying awake with you while you sobbed your little heart out of your fallen friend. And they were ready to protect you even from yourself, should your grief be too strong for you. No one could have expected the emotion you would show would be very different from sadness. Rage. Your POV. The air surrounding you grew thick with tension and unease after Foxy's declaration. You felt numb. Chica had gone quiet, but her grip around you had tightened significantly. There it was. The big, dark, scary secret that the animatronics had withheld from you. There, in its horrific truth, now stood menacingly before you. Bonnie was dead. You weren't sure you heard him properly at first, but a single glance at any of their faces will tell you that you hadn't mistaken his words. You were still, unmoving, though you were sure that the animatronics wished you'd do something, anything. The internal struggle to maintain your composure in front of them was lost. The bottle that stored your emotions had broken under the pressure of the news, and your boiling, fiery rage flowed out into your system like a storm surge. It overtook you. In a matter of mere seconds after Foxy spoke the words that sent you over the edge with anger, you could have sworn you had been possessed by some powerful, vengeful spirit. What do you mean he's dead? Your voice was almost inhuman, as if you transformed into a demon right before their very eyes. Chica looked up at you with nothing but fear in her violet orbs, a gasp escaping her lips. You paid her no mind at all, as if she didn't even exist. The color of blood surrounded the corner of your vision, until the only clear thing in your view was the crimson pirate fox. His eyes were wide in apparent terror, as he probably hadn't expected you to act in that way. Why would he have, though? You'd been nothing but a submissive little plaything for them since the beginning. You were an object to be kept, to be shrouded in dark and confusion, and have all your questions and concerns utterly ignored. You'd been nothing but kind to them, having nothing but sanity and patience towards them, no matter what they did. That's what they were expecting. Your patience, your forgiveness, but that was not what they were going to receive. That side of you had been pushed to the brink of madness for the very last time. The line had been crossed, and there was no going back. What the fuck do you mean he's dead? The blonde girl that had been embracing you jumped away in fright at your tone, scurrying backwards until she hit the wall. You didn't even register her shriek or had you gone to Foxy so fast, but before anyone could move to stop you, you sent him to the ground with a hard punch to his nose. Ooh. Second POV. Chica. Said the blonde girl. The blonde girl nearly jumped out of her own skin as she was snapped out of her thoughts. Looking to her right, she saw Goldie standing there. His face was pale. The bags under his eyes had worsened. His now seemingly permanent red orbs were dull, and he seemed just as disconnected with reality as Chica felt. None of what had happened today felt real, to any of them. Goldie was quiet as Chica gave him no response other than a bug-eyed stare, and he moved to sit beside her on the windowsill. She watched him cautiously. Her old fear and bias against him never faded even after all this time, no matter how much you had trusted him. Granted, she hasn't spoken to Goldie much since the toys came, and spoke very little to him even before then. And any conversation they did have was always full of malice and bitterness from her end. I know the drama! Goldie rubbed his eyes tiredly, a quiet groan leaving his mouth. He was aware of Chica's watchful, weary eyes on him even without having to look. He wouldn't be going through this trouble if he didn't know it was something you would have wanted him to do. With Foxy locked up in the guest bedroom, both body fractured and a mental state in deplorable condition, and Freddy was still trying to recover from both his mental and physical wounds, Goldie was the only one left to comfort Chica in your absence. His crimson gaze that looked so similar to Bonnie's locked onto hers. His expression was neutral. Do you want to talk about it? Her response was quick, bitter, and heartlessly vicious. Talk about what? What is there to talk about? She's fucking gone. Bonnie's fucking dead. What the hell is there to talk about, Goldie? The blonde male would have preferred an answer without as much cursing as he had gotten, but he kept face. It was normal to him for the others to take out their negative emotions on him, which is why he normally kept to himself. The only person in his life that hadn't used him just as a personal emotional punching bag was you. And you wouldn't have just given up on Chica as easily as he was tempted to. He pressed on for your sake. His eyes narrowed at her slightly, before he gave a sigh and tried again. I've heard it helps. Besides, laying around being depressed all day isn't very productive, believe me. I would know, and Wyan certainly wouldn't approve of it if she was here. But she's not here. Chica snarled, violet orbs alight with pent-up anger. That's the problem. Goldie certainly had his work cut out for him. Chica's hostility towards him had never been so great before, and he was sort of getting used to not having to deal with it because you were always there and the others had no reason to pick a fight with him. He hung his head, his fingers trying to massage his growing migraine away. Was it all worth all this trouble? I know that, he mumbled. Then, lifting his head, he faced her again. But we can't do anything about it in the state we're all in. Wyan's hurting just as much as we are. We? Chica finally rose to her feet, towering over the seated male with a devastatingly malicious aura. Goldie, with an internal grumble, looked up to meet her fiery, unforgiving, and judgmental eyes. There is no we, you fucking bastard! The smaller blonde roared. Her hands curled into fists as she trembled with rage. You're not a part of this. Bonnie was our friend. You didn't even know him, aside from the times you throw him across the party room like a fucking toy. A bitter smile crossed his face, and he looked away with a small, dry laugh. She was absolutely right. Goldie couldn't care any less about that dumb bunny. He even scorned the poor boy's grave. Though, the only reason for that little extra tidbit of hatred was due to his trouble his death caused everyone. More specifically, because it caused you to lash out even against Goldie. He was an idiot for even trying to sympathize with Chica. He should have known better than that. God, things would be so much easier if only you were here. Don't act like we're friends, you fucking asshole. Chica continued her verbal assault, her voice rising with her temper. The only reason we even put up with you is because of YN. That's crazy. Oh, hey guys, welcome in. It's so good to see you guys. Yay, TT. Welcome in. Yes, the drama is dramaing. It's getting crazy. Anyways. Let's see. Funny. Goldie finally spoke with false enthusiasm. His tone dropped and became more serious. She's the same reason I'm here talking to you. Chica wasn't expecting that response. The smaller blonde froze, her mouth agape and violet orbs wide in surprise. Goldie's face remained neutral as she studied him carefully, but his crimson eyes were narrowed, showing a slight disinterest towards her. It was, of course, out of character for him to even try to be in the same room as one of them. But here he was, going out of his way to see if she was all right. Chica frowned in thought, her eyebrows knit together snugly. Goldie had even come back to save them, even after everything that had happened between them, and despite the mutual hatred they had for each other. If Goldie wasn't with you, you would have been utterly alone and defenseless against the toys. But Goldie himself was already in bad condition. Vincent had told everyone that what he had been doing to the others, just because that was the kind of sadistic fuck he was. So, the originals were all aware of what was happening to each other. Instead of keeping you to himself, Goldie returned to that hellhole Vincent kept them in and tried to save them. But why would he have done all that? Why do that for the people that hated you for so long? Simple. It was exactly what he had said. He was doing this for you. Chica couldn't understand why that would be. She couldn't understand the reason for his actions. She couldn't figure out what his true motives were. That is, unless. You honestly think I came to check on you because I wanted to play the nice guy? He scoffed, trying his hardest to not roll his eyes. Chica's lips pressed together firmly, forming a straight line. It wasn't possible that Goldie actually loved you, was it? In truth, Goldie had made an effort to get along with the originals, just as they had with him, but Chica figured it was just a part of his plan to take you away. There was no way that Goldie could love anyone but himself, she was sure. But then, why did she feel like he was telling the truth? So guys, this is a perfect example of putting yourself in another person's shoes, and maybe not remember, opinions do not equal factual or truthful, guys. This is a perfect example of, like, people think you're one thing when in reality you're a whole nother. They just are so firm in it that they refuse to believe anything else. This is crazy. This is how some people truly are, guys. And I need y'all to be aware of that, because this happens, even, like, I can't admit I'm not perfect. We have our moments, but as long as we realize and we improve upon that and communicate and honestly make an effort to, like, realign our morals, realign ourselves, and really check ourselves, like, hey, if I'm wrong, what happens then? If I admit wrong, if I was wrong, would I be able to admit it? Like, questions like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think this is very important. Anyways, I couldn't care less about you than I already do, Goldie revealed, his voice monotone yet full of brutal honesty. But YN would have tried to comfort you if she were here. But since she's not, you need to get yourself together. Goldie stood up to leave with a small sigh, facing away from Chica. She stood in silence, her head bowed slightly in shame. She had been wrong about him. His gaze shifted to her out of the corner of his eyes before he spoke his departing words. YN needs you right now, and I'm not going to stand idly by and let you make her worry any more than she already does. His voice was low and full of underlying scorn for the small girl. It was your weakness that forced us to tell her in the first place. With a final glare towards her, He left Chica alone in the once again silent house. Chica didn't move from her spot as she went over the conversation in her head. Quietly, she glanced at the doorway Goldie had left through. He did really love you, didn't he? Your POV. Amidst the pouring rain, there was a certain chill in the air tonight, one that was unwelcome and utterly unpleasant. The sound of thunder rang through your eardrums as you proceeded unfazed into the dreary, dead garden. You were contently alone, and with the garden having been closed for almost an hour, and with no one around to be the bearer of any more bad news, the raging storm had killed more than a few roses, leaving petals scattered on the cobblestone walkway before you and waiting to be crushed under your foot. The bushes were being drowned with the overflow of water, and majority of the paths you could have taken had flooded quite quickly. If you had any sense of self-preservation left, you would have turned around like any sane person and would have gone back home to wait out the rain. Instead, you continued to your destination. Besides, it wasn't as though you had any better place to be other than outside in a thunderstorm. You couldn't go back home. Not yet. Not after everything that happened. There was no way you'd even consider it. Not after terrifying and practically traumatizing the animatronics, who, unfortunately for them, were the ones who delivered the news to you. You suppose it would have been worse coming from someone else. That it had been better to hear it from the originals, as opposed to, say, Vincent. But perhaps you were wrong. Maybe it would have been easier on your conscience to hear it from him, because then, the only one in the line of fire, the only one to fall victim to your explosive wrath, would be someone who you couldn't care a damn less about. But no. Of course, it just had to be the originals to tell you. It just had to be them that you had to take your pain out on. It certainly had to be. Another strike of lightning hit the entire sky in a blinding light, followed by the furious roar of thunder. You stopped in your tracks to peer up at the clouds, a bitter smile on your face. If the weather didn't perfectly match your current mood, you weren't sure what else could. Giving a disgruntled huff, you rolled your eyes and continued towards the innermost part of the garden. As you walked, you noticed the whole place seemed to absolutely reek of death. Rosebuds had begun to decay even before they had bloomed. There was almost no roses on the bushes that used to be nothing but roses, and any roses that were alive were torn apart by the wind, with a few petals remaining on them. Why had it always been like that? Even without the storm, you doubted this place would have seen any less dead. Maybe because it was Bonnie. Maybe Bonnie's memory had been so deeply engraved into this place that it would die off with him gone. Your vision began to cloud with tears and became blurry, and you didn't even try to stop them from flowing. Wasn't there some sort of saying that it was better to cry in the rain because no one could tell the difference? Oh, whoopsie. You suppose it didn't matter now. Hearing your phone start to ring, you eye at it mournfully. No doubt it was Mike or Jeremy wondering where you were. But had Bonnie been there, it would have been him continuously trying to get a hold of you. In the middle of the night, out in the storm, and all by yourself, Bonnie would have had a heart attack about worrying about you. But Bonnie wasn't here anymore. You picked your phone out of your pocket, and sure enough, you received another message from Jeremy. Of course, it wouldn't have been one of the originals. You're probably almost entirely sure that you and them were mutually in not wanting to see each other. You were in a rush to get home, and they were in a frenzy trying to get you back. It may be that way for a while until, maybe, things cool down. As to be expected, you were completely alright with that. You had gotten out of hand, bottled up your emotions until they turned into a hurricane that devastated everyone around you. Were you sorry, though? Hell nah. You had every right to be angry. Bonnie's death wasn't something that just immediately happened. No, they hid it from you, just like everything else. You had every right to know what happened to Bonnie. You cared about him just as much or even more than they did. And you were just as much as involved as they were. You forgave them for going behind your back several times, whether it be to kill someone, to just straight up lie to you for whatever dumb reason. And that one time that they even tried to kill you. But withholding that truth from you was something you don't think you could ever forgive. You didn't want to forgive. You had let go too much and turned yourself into their personal fucking doormat. So excuse you if you couldn't care less about how badly Foxy was already injured before you beat the living shit out of him. And you certainly didn't care that you frightened Chica so badly that she was reduced to a shaking, sobbing mess on the floor. No, you didn't care. You didn't care at all. All that mattered was that Bonnie was gone, and the closest person that had lied to you about something so entirely world-shattering, yet again, was it so wrong that you felt the slightest bit betrayed? You thought you were close with them. You thought you were friends, and that you'd been through a lot together. Yet they hid his death from you. And for what? Did they not trust you? Did they not care enough about you or your relationship with them to tell you? And why? Why did they decide to tell you then? Right after Jack and the other toys betrayed you. Right when you were at your weakest. When you were already at your limit, your breaking point. The originals lied to you so damn much. You weren't sure what to believe. Their love for you? Utter bullshit. You don't constantly try and bend the people you love until they break. You don't save the bad news for when they're already down and out. You don't consistently lie to them and expect them to believe a single word out of your mouth afterwards. You don't tell someone you love them just so you can hurt them. Unfortunately, it seemed that all the other things you shouldn't do to people you love are the only things the animatronics are actually fucking good for. Looking up sharply at the sound of thunder, you realize that you are in the middle of a fucking lake of water. The rainwater had reached almost above your ankles and rising quickly, enough to cause concern. Well, concern for anyone in the right state of mind. You, however, were not. And you continued to trudge through the mud and water just to get where you wanted to go. The fountain. You were headed for the fountain. It was no doubt going to be turned off, as once again the garden was closed. But you still wanted to see it. Maybe it could help calm your nerves. Or maybe the sight of it would devastate you because you knew that you would never get to see it with Bonnie again. In either case, you were compelled to get there. It was almost like a hardwired in your brain somewhere that you just had to see the damn fountain. For whatever reason, even if you had to fucking swim through the rain to get to it. Come hell or high water, you were going to get there if it killed you. Second POV. Freddy's, I don't know how to say that, blue eyes stared up blankly at the ceiling, while his ears were tuned into the noise of the storm outside. It had sounded like it was getting worse by the minute, and he sure knew that you still hadn't come home yet. In any other situation, he wouldn't hesitate to go outside and try to find you, bring you back safe. But he didn't think he could do that now. Even if he attempted to, what would it matter? He probably failed to save you like he failed to save Bonnie. Surprisingly, he felt numb at the realization. He would have expected himself to just break down like he wanted to. But he supposed it was his conscience pushing him for what he did to you. No. Freddy didn't want to tell you of Bonnie's death so soon. He knew you weren't ready. That, with the condition you were in, you weren't able to handle it. Freddy was afraid you might do something drastic. Maybe you would be so distraught you'd even try to take your own life. Hell, he didn't know, and he didn't want to find out. While he was exceedingly happy that your reaction wasn't anything like he thought it would be, he was incredibly shocked to see the side of you that came out after Foxy told you the news. Not a single one of them expected you to act that way, but maybe they should have. They really had done nothing but push their luck with you, until eventually it ran out. Watching you beat the absolute shit out of Foxy had to be the most horrifying thing Freddy has ever seen. Foxy hadn't even tried to retaliate or even defend himself, and the others weren't sure he even could. You were merciless on your onslaught, and no one dared to move to stop you, even as they watched the floor beneath you and Foxy turn a dark crimson. You were shouting and practically roaring at the top of your lungs, bringing every wrong the originals had done against you back to light. It didn't take long while listening to you before each and every one of the originals were wishing they were in Foxy's place, wishing that you would deliver justice upon them, give them what they deserved, to somehow make them feel better. They only faintly got their wish. While Foxy was the main focus of your wrath, the others weren't excluded from it. You turned and lashed out at Freddy next, who was the closest to you. His jaw was still aching, but it was nothing compared to what Foxy must have been through. Must have been feeling. Foxy was already on your bad side that day, so the poor guy got the brunt of everything. After you'd left, he just lay there where you had left him, beaten and bloody on the floor outside the guest bedroom. Chica eventually got him to move into the bedroom so that she could tend to his wounds, but he refused her help and wanted to be left alone. He'd been locked up in there by himself since then, probably still bleeding out. A lightning bolt struck just outside the room's window. The entire room lit up in a bright light, rendering him blind for a moment. When it faded, the thunder quickly followed suit, ringing through his eardrums and shaking the walls of the room. But, just when it had gone quiet, Freddy's ears perked at the sound of something shattering. He didn't have time to sit up before someone began to yell, "Foxy!" Freddy gave a low, pained groan, swinging his legs over to the side of the bed so he could stand up. There wasn't a doubt in Freddy's mind that Foxy and Goldie were at it again. He concluded easily and without the need of any other information that Goldie had probably tried to tend to Foxy's wounds again, and Foxy blew a fuse. Without you around, with Chica still a traumatized, trance-like state, there was no one else to stop the fight but Freddy. Walking to the door with a slight limp in his step, he took a deep breath before stepping out into the fray. Your POV. It was disappointing. The fountain was utterly thrashed, having dirt and mud smeared all over the stone by the wind, and the water was littered with garbage and tattered foliage. As to be expected, the water was turned off, but you doubted it would have been any better looking with it on. Despite, knowing how it would look, you still had hope that maybe there would be some remnant of the fountain you remembered. But there was none. You knew better than to hope for that, but you still did. Because really, hope was just about all you had left. With an aggravated scoff, you turned on your heel so you wouldn't have to face the mockery of the decimated fountain. Your scowl could only deepen from what it was before, and your knuckles had long since turned white after having your hands clenched into fists for so long. You've had enough. You were going home. The animatronics may have even more hell to pay if you see any of them on your way to your room. They'd be better off dead, like Bonnie, for all you cared for in your current state. That's crazy work. That's crazy work. You just got them back and they were tortured. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that at all. I don't appreciate that. I figured you'd be here. Your head shot up at the sound of the voice, swiftly turning your back on your heel to face the fountain again. You caught a familiar violet stare. Even despite the furiously pounding rain that fogged your vision, you saw him clearly. Jack stood, slumped over in front of the stone structure, his hands in his hoodie pockets and his hood up to protect him from the storm. He fidgeted slightly under your furious gaze. Call it a hunch. Call it a fucking ass whooping. What I'm about to give you, bitch? I'm about to give you a fucking ass whooping. After what he revealed, all he deserves is nothing but a good ass whooping. If anyone deserved an ass whooping, it would be him, Vincent. Oh hell no! I'd give everybody a free ass whooping for real. 2 for 1, 2 for 1. Anyways, I really said 2 for 1. Oh my god, bro. I feel like a monster. You know that song? I feel it deep within. I can't copyright, but y'all know what I mean, right? Anyways, okay, we're in chapter 36. I'm betting $5 that she whoops his ass. Please, girl, do it for us. Do it for us. Second POV. Jack could only stand still, watching with dark, dreary eyes as you stormed up to him, cloaked with an aura of fiery rage. Lightning cracked above you as your fist connected with his jaw. Nah, bruh. You know what she reminds me of? Yeah! Yeah! Like, literally. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Please tell me y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyways. Lightning cracked above you as your fist connected with his jaw, knocking the violet male to the ground. He was silent as he fell hard on his side, not bothering to retaliate against you or even to dodge any other attacks you might send his way. Jack kept his head down as he hesitantly sat up, slumped against the foundation's base, unable to meet your eyes. His gaze was at the ground. Who? You looked away, unable to stand even the mere sight of him. Who the hell do you think you are? You gave him a strangled, aggravated yell, turning away from him. The very last thing you needed right now was to see his miserable, ugly mug. YN. Turning swiftly on your heel, you glared daggers back at him. He should have known better than to speak up. Should have known better than to even think of showing his face after all he had done. You stomped back up to him, staring down at him with eyes full of lethal poison. Surprisingly, Jack had looked up to meet your gaze. If there had ever been a time to describe a rabbit before you as pitiful, now would have been the time. His once luminous eyes were dull, the same void stare he wore on his face when you'd found him hiding away in his box earlier that night. The same place he had confessed to you in several moments afterwards. The sight made your thought almost to be subtle rage begin to stir anew in your chest once again. Sensing the rise in your hostility, Jack didn't wait for another punch to land before taking a breath and attempting to explain himself. I deserved it. I know I did. His voice was monotone, though he uttered his words carefully, almost as if he was talking to a wild, ferocious animal. You have every right to be angry at me, to hate me after what I did, but I need you to understand that you lied. The storm drowned the sound of the splash at the first drop of blood, as the first drop of blood hit the pavement. In one sharp movement, you knelt down and broke Jack's nose with your fist. Damn, we like a professional WWE fighter up in here. No, his name is John Cena. Anyways, in one sharp movement, you knelt down and broke Jack's nose with your fist. The crimson liquid was pouring out of his face like a waterfall, turning the rainwater beneath you both a diluted red. Closing his eyes, he gasped out for a breath before sputtering and coughing up more blood. It was that kick to his rib, he decided. That was probably the worst physical pain he'd felt in his life, aside from being brutally murdered, of course. You're such a lousy bastard, Jack. You'd risen to your feet, tearing over the wounded male with no mercy to see in your orbs. Just how many brain cells did Foxy relieve you when he beat you to a pulp earlier? What the hell did you think coming here and finding me was going to do? Jack's eyes shot up to yours. You needed an explanation. The sound of your scoff nearly silenced the raging winds. Crossing your arms across your chest, you couldn't help but be so angry that a smile crossed your lips. Clearly, you didn't heal enough before you came here. You let out a laugh, rolling your eyes. If you think that some bullshit excuse is going to be enough to save your sorry ass from the ditch you dug yourself into, like hell, I'd even think about forgiving you if that's what I meant about Bonnie. Your facade dropped instantaneously. Jack's deep amethyst eyes gazed into yours, sternly, a pleading expression on his face. You. A growl rose from the back of your throat, the likes of which Jack had never heard before. It frightened him, even to his own shock. Your hands, curled into fists at your side, were dripping with fresh blood from the oaken cups. You digged into them with your nails. You knew? You knew, and you kept it from me. You kept it from me just like them. It was the quiet anger and hurt of betrayal in your tone that made Jack's dead heart clench in his chest. I only just found out, he confessed, his eyes wide in surprise at his candor. I found out when the originals told you about an hour or so ago. He wasn't supposed to tell you that. Why did he tell you that? You were there? You suddenly snarled. Have you been following me this whole time? No, he stated, still winded from having the breath knocked out of him, courteously of yourself. No, I stayed behind for a while to watch the originals. And? For what? There was a switch that turned on inside him. It was as if only the truth could pass through his usual deceitful tongue. I wanted to study their reactions to you, to what they did to you. His voice was slowly becoming more calm, steady, counting off his reasons like a grocery list. I wanted to see if they could feel anything, if they would feel the guilt for what they did, or just not care, or if they were going to try and go after you or attack you. You stopped him there, a doubtful look on your face as you snapped at him. Why would they attack me? You saw it yourself, YN. His eyes narrowed, his gaze almost challenging you to deny what he was about to say. And that wound on your wrist? I know it was Goldie. And I watched Foxy hurt you before he started the fight with the blonde again. How did you know that? Gingerly taking your injured wrist into your opposite hand, you gave Jack a scrutinizing look. That Goldie did this to me? He paused, his resolve wavering, but gaze never leaving yours. I didn't trust him. You were following me. Is that what you're trying to say? Your eyes hardened in a judgmental glare. You didn't trust him? So that's your big excuse for stalking me? It wasn't stalking. A touch of nervousness had returned to his voice. Bullshit. What was it then? He looked down, falling silent. You tapped your blood-stained nail impatiently on your arms. And he didn't have to look to feel your pair of disapproving orbs staring down at him. What's the matter? You taunted, your voice as condescending as it could possibly be. Can't think of another lie? You must be losing your touch. The last words you spoke were spat out at him in the form of verbal poison. Jack did not flinch, though. I'm not silent because I'm trying to lie. He looked up to catch your gaze once more. His violet eyes almost transparent with firm resolve. I'm silent because I know if I don't say this right, then I'll never get the chance to say it again. You weren't even mildly curious. A low hum left your lips as you closed your eyes, thinking back to one of his previous statements. Before he could finally get the words out, your eyes were already burning into him fiercely. Tell me about Bonnie. Your demand was backed by an impounding power Jack didn't realize you ever had. I wasn't asking. Jack's response was immediate, though he spoke with an almost heartbroken look on his face. He's not dead, so to speak. He glanced away, as if to gather his thoughts. Then he turned back to you. He's just not exactly here, physically. Elaborate. He winced. Vincent, from what I heard from Freddy, after you left, forced Bonnie into his animatronic form after Fox and Goldie had escaped. Wait, you put your hand up to stop him. Did they discuss why they left Bonnie in the first place? It was Foxy's fault. The look of disbelief and surprise you had on your face made him look away. Or he blamed himself, at least. He sputtered nervously. Bonnie had escaped the room he was kept in by the time Goldie had showed up, and he was the first that Goldie encountered. Instead of taking Bonnie with him, Bonnie led him to where Foxy was, and they broke him out. Goldie planned to go back after Bonnie and for him to stay in hiding until he got back, but the shadows found out, and Bonnie distracted so the other two could get away. Jack waited for you to interject, call him a liar, or scoff, or do something to let him know that of your distrust, but it was silent. You said nothing, unmoving. Out of curiosity, he glanced up enough to see your feet, and he had noticed that you were particularly still. Afraid to meet your gaze, he returned his to the ground beside him as he continued. He took a small, shaky breath, thinking back to what he'd overheard an hour or so before. Foxy was the most injured out of the four of them, the one Vincent had tortured the most after Goldie escaped, he recalled. Apparently, it was loud enough for the other three to hear him clearly, despite how far they were. You saw his injuries. You already know how bad it was. You exactly knew how bad it was. An uncomfortable twinge of guilt ran through your chest at the thought of what Foxy had been through. He looked far worse off than Goldie and Freddie, or even Chica, as bandaged and bloody as she was. Even still, it was bothering you that he'd lie about all of it, a lie of omission. You allowed your train of thought to be interrupted as Jack's voice spoke up again. It was Bonnie's decision, he continued. His tone significantly more quiet than before. Instead of saving himself, he led Goldie to Foxy, and then they were caught. Bonnie made himself the decoy, and Vincent... What exactly did he do? Jack was practically gawking as he took in the sight of your shivering, more like trembling form. Tears you thought that had already shed were streaking down your face once more, mingling with the rain as it continued to beat down upon the garden. To think that he'd figured it out, he had already seen you at your worst, depressive state. Jack was shocked to have been proven wrong. Your lips quivered, and nearly gargled words came out shakily. Tell me, please. Despite his instincts telling him that you weren't prepared to hear it, Jack could not deny that pained, distant look in your eyes. No matter how much he wanted to, he caved in. His eyes cast downward so he could make it through the explanation without feeling too guilty to continue. He tore him apart. His normally melodious, I can't see this word for shit, voice was quiet, almost sad, until he was nothing but a pile of junk. That's why he can't come back? Your voice cracked at the realization. Bonnie can't change into a human without his animatronic form as a base. Something like that, right? His spirit is still here, so all we have to do is no, YN. The harsh, stern, and yielding look in his eyes silenced you instantly. Placing a hand on the fountain behind him, he carefully lifted himself to his feet, leaning on the base as support. Despite how weakened he looked, holding a gentle hand to the place you'd kicked him, his nose was still profoundly bleeding, and his eyes half-lidded. You saw the amethyst orbs that he was unrelentingly serious. You don't understand. There was an edge to his voice. His tongue was sharp. Even if you could somehow miraculously put his animatronic body together, there is no guarantee that he'll come back. Permissively, you stayed quiet. We're all just spirits of dead kids, YN. Spirits have to move on. We got unlucky. We got stuck, with nowhere else to go. We were too terrified to move, so we clung to the suits. That's the only reason we're still here. His scrutinizing gaze didn't miss the way you began to shake even more violently than before as he continued. We'd been through death. We've suffered enough. Bonnie was undoubtedly suffering when he got torn apart, and with him having lived and experienced the world enough already. You collapsed to your knees then and there, your face buried in your hands. Jack didn't try to finish, nor did he try to comfort you as you sat there and sobbed your broken heart out on the ground before him. Your shrieking, screaming wails couldn't fully be drowned out by the storms, as reality finally sunk in. You didn't believe it before. Bonnie was immortal. He couldn't have died. They all had it wrong. There had been a mistake, but there was no mistake. The revenants? I can't say this word for the life of me. Eyes darkened in heavy emotion as the minutes ticked by. He didn't have to tell you the rest. You figured it out. He stood there in silence as the rain continued to pour and your agony continued to grow, until your cries softened and ultimately cut off your conscience as your conscience slipped. Jack had moved to catch you as you fell, kneeling in a pool of water and blood as he cradled your exhausted body tightly in his arms. Eventually, the effects of the weather had caught up with you, knocking you clean out with a high fever. Your human body wasn't able to withstand being out in such terrible weather for so long, and you had ultimately become terribly ill. With the accumulation of your emotional pains and your physically weakened state, Jack wasn't sure when you would come, even if you would. He contemplated a hospital, but he wasn't exactly sure if they'd rush someone into the ER for just a fever, even for one as bad as yours. Glancing away from your pale face for a moment only, he scanned his surroundings with stern violet eyes. The two of you were completely alone. You must have been out in the weather for at least an hour or so, yet there was no sign of any of the originals had come to find you. For a moment, he felt an unbridled rage smote in his chest. The originals had the devil's luck to have someone like you love them so much. Yet, here you were, alone and unprotected, cast out in a thunderstorm in such a condition it made him sick. Your unconscious body began to stir, shaking and shivering in the cold. Jack looked down at you once more, pushing his anger aside for the time being. He had to get you out of the storm before anything else. His ultimate decision was to retreat to the pizzeria, with you in tow. Second POV. Hours. Hours had passed and you had still not come back. Goldie's shaking fingers tapped in a hurried, jumbled rhythm as he stared out the window into your driveway. The rain had finally let up a little, but there was still no sun to be seen. It was morning now, yet there was no cheer nor laughter in your home, as there usually was. His crimson orbs had faded into an off-color indigo, a combination of the scarlet color they were earlier in the original sapphire blue. It was his worry for you that was driving him mad, dragging him back to normal. After all the while you've been gone, his mind was tormenting him, torturing him, forcing any worst-case scenario it could conjure up about what had happened to you in his thoughts. You drowned in the floodwaters. Someone had mugged you before the downpour and you were lying dead in a dark alleyway somewhere, bleeding to death from multiple stab wounds. Hell, what if Vincent got a hold of you on the street somewhere? What if he was stuffing you into the suit just as he was thinking this? What if he was forcing himself onto you? Goldie visibly cringed inward, his joints all locking up intensely at the thought. God forbid anything that horrible would happen to you, while he did nothing but sit around feeling sorry for himself while twiddling his thumbs. The blond male took a shaky breath, rubbing his hands down his face until they crawled their way to their scalp, his fingers nearly ripping his own hair out. He was shaking, trembling as he remembered the look on your face as you blazed your way out of the house. There was no mercy, no hope of forgiveness left in those cold, unwilling pools of your eyes. He should have told you. She should have paid closer attention to your agony before, if he only just listened to you. He clenched his fist tightly around his head. His eyes closed in thought as he heaved a heavy breath. What the hell was he doing waiting around like this? He needed to find you, no matter if you were still mad or not. He needed to know you were safe. As if you would even be the dumbass I had let you stroll out the door into a thunderstorm in a clearly deplorable condition. He would have never forgive himself for such a massive fuck-up. He felt so fucking stupid. He could only wish that you'd walk back through that door and tell him exactly how much of an idiot he was like he deserved. He was worried. He was so fucking worried. How in the hell could he have let you go like that? What the fuck was wrong with him? There were so many people out there after you, and he just let you wander off into the night in a thunderstorm? Goldie almost wanted to cry out of his own stupidity. Now wasn't the time for crying, though, and he knew it. So, he decided. He stood up, his shoulders tense with worry, as he headed for the front door, barely remembering to cover his ears. He flipped his hoodie up over his head and stepped out of what was left of the storm to find you. The Goldie had a faint idea where to look first and headed off in that direction. He wasn't going back to your house, to the pizzeria. He wasn't going to rest until he found you. And once he did, he was never letting you go again. It would keep you safe. It was all to protect you. Why did he feel a smirk across his lips at that thought, though? 'Cause you a weird bitch. Thank you. Oh my god, I thought we were chapter 3. I'm crazy, guys. I'm crazy. Delicious. Okay. First of all, guys, emotions are crazy, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of guilt, a lot of, oh, it's your fault, no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault. There's a lot of that going on. That's a lot. It's a lot going on. But, we must lock in my twins. We're doing great. And thank you guys for following along. Anyways, chapter 37. Has her temperature got down at all? Out of the corner of his crystal blue eyes, he spotted Jack leaning against the doorway. After half an hour attempting to coerce him into changing out of his drenched clothes, Jack had finally, I don't know what that word is, now wearing a dark gray long sleeve shirt and black jeans. His raven hair was tousled and unkempt, but it was dry, showing that he at least had enough decency to do the little thing that the bear had asked of him. The gesture was appreciated, but not verbally. The brunette shook his head, returning his attention to your sleeping form. No, not much. Glancing up at the clock on the wall adjacent from him, Jack noted the time indignantly. Yeah, I can't say that right. Exactly how many hours would have to pass before the originals got off their lazy, ungrateful asses to go and look for you? His pair of violet eyes rolled at the thought. Striding over to your bedside to stand beside the bear, he stared down at you in a studious silence. Fred is, not Freddy, this is Toy Freddy. Fred is Toy Freddy. Keep that in mind. Fred gently set a cool, damp towel on your head, hoping to soothe the fever, if only slightly. They had no medicine at the pizzeria. There was little else they could do. With a sigh, he ranked his hands through his caramel locks, turning around in his chair to look back at the marionette. You never told me where you found her. His voice was stern. Sky blue orbs narrowed. Just what the hell happened? Almost instantly, Jack's mist eyes darted away. He shrugged. Garden. A silent twitch of the eye was enough to show Fred's immense displeasure at the response. You give me one more vague-ass answer like that and I'll rip your tongue through your teeth. Jack blinked in surprise. The bear's usual calm demeanor seemed to be absent. His next words were seethingly uttered through his teeth. Which garden? The marionette's mouth opened and closed several times, almost as if he couldn't form the words, before he finally spoke. The one in the middle of town, the same one that Mangle said he'd take her to. A suspicious glare followed. There was a rare, pure silence in the room as Fred's crystal eyes bore into Jack's. There were a few occasions that Jack had seen the other male so angry on being after he woke up from the beating Goldie had given him on the first night, and another after the time BB put glue on the top of his hat. Angry Fred was rare. Angry Fred was not to be trifled with. After a moment or so, his glare softened. Fred's stare stopped, turning back around to focus on you. Jack's eyes followed, glancing over at your still unconscious body on the bed. Another bout of rage built up in his chest with each and every time he saw the sickly state you were in. No matter how many times he thought about it, it never ceased to piss him off. After everything that's happened, none of those sorry motherfuckers better dare show their faces in front of him again. What would have happened to you if you'd been left out in the storm, unconscious and seriously ill? He didn't even want to imagine. You said it was Golden Freddy that caused the injury to her wrist? It took Jack a moment to process the question, torn from his thoughts. Yes. Fred glared at the marionette from out the corner of his eye. And you didn't think to stop him? She's lucky her wrist wasn't broken. Jack's unwavering stare remained focused on you, not bothering to entertain the bear's hostile gaze. Springtrap was there, he muttered. I thought she would have been fine with Goldilocks with her, and she was until he was provoked. It happened too fast, but he came back to his senses quick enough. It wasn't so dangerous I had to step in. It was under control. Under control, my ass! Fred rolled his eyes, returning his attention to you. Suddenly, there was a sharp intake of breath. In a faint whine, you escaped your previously silent form. You were in pain. The brunette frowned at you, now taking the warm towel off your forehead and standing to go replace it. As you went to brush past Jack, whose gaze still was fixed on you, his blue orb shifted out of the corner of his eyes and narrowed at him. If you want to be useful, he started, stay here with her while I'm gone. There was a pause as Fred looked away. His expression stayed strained. When I get back. The brunette trailed off, shaking his head at himself in doubt. It was dangerous. It was stupid. And probably only would cause trouble. If it wasn't done right, it would alert the originals to your location. They'd find you, probably hurt you for being acquainted with the toys. And you would possibly even die by their hands, if they meant to kill you or not. Yet, even with the risk, it was all he can think of. You would only get worse if you didn't get any significant help soon. You would die with the execution. You could die with the execution of his plan, but you could also possibly die without. At least in the former, you stood a much better chance. A chance they'd take. He turned to face Jack fully, though the marionette didn't bother to return the attention. But Fred knew he was listening. His stern, blue gaze tore into Jack, fierce enough to cut even diamonds. If you can avoid the originals. It was more of a command than it left the room for question. Go to her house and look for any medicine you think might be useful. You get back here as quick as you can, and you understand? Don't let them see you under any circumstances. Then, with a swift turn of the heel and the click of the door shut behind him, Fred was gone. It was difficult to be in the same room as you after what he knew he did, but now, alone together with you, despite not being conscious, made him almost want to keel over and die out of the shame and the guilt he felt. He was shifting his weight from foot to foot, almost as if preparing to run away from this, from you, from the whole situation, but he stayed. He couldn't run from you. He didn't have it in him. He couldn't bring himself to abandon you and any hope of rekindling his relationship with you. Not you, because you didn't run away from him. Not even when you should have. Jack forced himself to move closer, not quite remembering to breathe as he hesitantly sat in the chair that the brunette once occupied. No matter how much he wanted to look away from you, again, he couldn't do it. Before now, Jack would have hated how much you reigned over him and his thoughts. He controlled others, not the other way around. It was his pride and his ego and foolish arrogance that ruled him then. But now, things were different. Now, he felt remorse that he hadn't accepted you like this before. Maybe if he had, he would have tried to talk to you about the originals, instead of that failed, flashy show of his pride that caused you to end up like this. That's really all it was. The fight between him and Foxy. A show of pride. Bruh, so basically you got your ass whooped because you were prideful? Oh, hell no. That's a reality check right there. That's a big fat reality check. That's crazy. Look, Wyan, I was right. Look, Wyan, they're too dangerous for you. Look, Wyan, I'm not the monster. Look, Wyan, I'll protect you. Your skin was cool to the touch. Just wrapping his hand around yours sent goosebumps up his arm. If you were awake, you wouldn't have let him have this luxury. That's what this was. What's even breathing the same air as you was. A luxury that he had foolishly given up. A luxury that he knew he'd never deserved in the first place. Look, Wyan, I broke your trust. Look, Wyan, I made you cry. Look, Wyan, at what my stupid pride caused. Oh, hold on. There we go, chat. Got nervous for a minute. My microphone was glitching out a little bit. Oh, wait, hold on. There we go. Just a little less, little toggle. All right, hold on. I'm trying to make myself a little echoey. Just a little less because it's kind of crazy. Oh, hi guys. Hi. Welcome in. We are reading Human Fnaf X Listener Book 3. And we're going, it's drama. The drama is crazy, guys. The drama is crazy. But yeah, we're like in the middle of basically the marionette. Kind of like, oh, why did I do this? Why did I do that? I wonder why, dummy. I wonder why. Looking like damn near Boo-Boo the Fool. Anyways, let's get back into it. I might, hold on, let me tweak this a little more. Oh, you know what? I was tweaking the wrong shit. There we go. That's much better. I was like, why is that not different? I don't know. Okay, there we go. That's a little better. Hold on. Better? Yeah, I think that's a bit better. Yeah, I don't like being all echoey and shit. Anyways. Yeah, I would want to fight Jack too because, like, shut the hell up, bruh. You know what you did. Get out of my face. Y'all probably see me. Like, if I have my camera on, I'd be like, get out of my face. Get out of my face. Anywho. Jack's hand gripped yours tightly. It was almost as if silently willing you to wake up and scream at him for even being within 10 feet of you. His other hand moved up to cup yours between his, lifting it closer to his face so he could breathe warm air into the small shelter he created around your hand. His grip was firm, yet gentle. Yes, the drama is drawing me, and you is 120% correct. It is drama-ing. It's crazy. But you know, drama llama. Anyways. Hold on, I gotta lock this thing in. There we go. Alright. Oh, hi, welcome in. As the title suggests, we are reading Human Fnaf X Listener. It's getting kind of crazy. Anyways, let me lock in. Y'all, we have to lock in, chat. We have to lock in. Anyways. Look at me. Look at anything. Open your eyes. Just open your eyes and look. When Fred returned, he was greeted with the humbling yet incredibly baffling sight of the psychotic? Oh shit. There we go. Sorry, my earphones. Psychotic marionette he somehow knew as Jack, with his head hung low over your bedside, his hand cradled around your own. For a moment, he was speechless. Shocked still and unsure of what to do next, he simply continued to stare, his crystal blue orbs wide as saucers. Watch me, YN. Suddenly, Jack let go of her limp hand, setting it down at your side gently, and he stood. There was nothing said between the brunette and him, only a short, shared gaze that connected their thoughts, with words that didn't need to be spoken. Watch, Ryan, I can fix this. Watch, Ryan, I can make things right. With a single blink of the bear's eyes, Jack was gone. Watch me, YN. Fred moved over to your bedside, taking a seat next to you once more. You seemed different when he had left you. Your pale face was now contorted in pain, as was now relaxed, and you were quiet. Well, you gotta catch up, bro. You gotta catch up. It's crazy. I would suggest going backwards in time, like backwards in this life, and just watching it, man. Don't worry. It's good. I think I put good emotion into it. Don't y'all agree? I think I put the emotion in there. Because, you know, gotta put it in there and it doesn't sound right. Yes. Anyway. Okay. At first, he feared that you had somehow died in the short time he was gone, and waited with bated breath for a sign of life. Your next exhale was almost as quiet, blissful sigh passed your lips. Fred gave out a relieved yet exasperated groan, throwing his head back and rubbing his palm down his face. That dumbass better come back. I'm going to become someone worthy of you. Watch me. Foxy. The small blonde allowed her voice to hang in the air, penetrating the previous silent atmosphere. Beyond the door that stood before her, the red beast stayed lonesome in the darkness, never once revealing himself since he had shut himself within those few hours ago. No amount of pleading could drag him out, but she knew this. But she still tried fruitlessly. "We're leaving," she nearly whimpered, fidgeting in place. "We have to look for her now." That was not true. They should have searched the moment that you left. They should have never left you in your state. They were supposed to be out there, but only now they finally choose to begin. The same way they choose to keep that horrific news from you. They were supposed to tell you. You had every right to know. Yet they choose not to. And every choice they make dragged them deeper and deeper into the pit they dug themselves. No decision they made so far was right. Their decisions caused actions evocably screwed themselves into obtaining forgiveness from you. No more decisions could be made that would alter their terrible situation, that could fix the mayhem created by their self-admitted idiocy. Aside from you missing, they couldn't even keep themselves together. There was blood still on your carpet from the fights and scuffies that brewed in your absence. Foxy had locked himself in his room. Freddy's mental stability was all but a joke, and all she knew was she was no better. The only person in all of this that seemed to never take a misstep, never falter or mess up, was Goldie. Goldie was the only reasonable sane one left of them at the moment. It was no wonder he was the only one to escape your triad unscathed. "Do you need anything?" Stupid question. Very stupid question. She knew exactly what he needed. Exactly what they all needed. You. Only the noise of the slowing, turning fan inside your room met her ears in reply. Chica gave a small, miserable whine, biting the inside of her cheek. She'd cried enough. She had to do something now. No more crying. No more pity partying. You needed help. Foxy needed help. If she comes back at least. She mumbled pathetically, "While we're gone, will you at least call, text, anything?" She waited a few moments in vain for a response. She knew she wouldn't receive. Sucking in the shaky breath, Chica tilted her chin upwards toward the ceiling, trying to find whatever strength she had left to muster it now. "Take care, Foxy. We'll be back soon." He wasn't so sure. Her footsteps faded down the hall. Then a male voice, Freddy's, joined her for a short, terse conversation. He heard the door creak open, then shut, leaving him alone in an empty, dead house. The beast's golden glaze never once left the door as it sat, entirely alone, in the corner of the room, waiting for its beloved master to return home, for however long you needed him to. Your home was strangely silent. Out of all the times Jack had been here, whether you realized it fully or not, it had always been boisterous and noisy, full of life. There was no life in it now. The originals had finally left to find you, and it all had taken them damn long enough. He ended up in the hallway outside your door, which was cracked open, only enough to catch a small glimpse of the inside. He hesitated, not wanting to disturb your room or further cause you trouble, but the medicine was in your bathroom, and it was through that door. Jack sucked in a breath as the door creaked open, stepping inside with haste. He'd get in and get out. He didn't need to be reminded of how he even knew where your bathroom was in the first place. Ugh. Did he ever apologize for that? He hoped he did. He really, really hoped he did. For how many other things has Jack done to you that he'd almost forgotten about? The marionette was really despicable. Today was the day he acted new highs for self-hatred, and he knew he deserved every bit of it. His violet eyes were shut as he stepped into the bathroom, feeling around for the sink and then the mirror above it. Only slightly did he open his eyes, enough to see the contents in the cabinet hiding behind the mirror and nothing else. There wasn't much as far as medicine went. A bottle of painkillers, likely for a certain time of the month, and allergy medication were for the more prominent ones he saw at first glance. With a few more seconds and careful scrutinizing gaze, he found what he needed. Jack gave a breath of relief, then stuffed the medicine in his pocket and made his way downstairs to the kitchen. It wouldn't hurt to bring you a glass of water or something to eat when you woke up, and it wasn't like he could get either of those at the pizzeria. It was already opened, and the kitchen was busy with workers bustling around in it. As he proceeded downstairs, he couldn't help but catch the disarray in your living room out of the corner of his eye. Jack paused on the last few steps, taking in the sight. Some older and seemingly alarming fresh blood littered your furniture, your carpet, and even parts of the wall. It wouldn't have been far off to guess that the originals had lost it and tried to kill each other. He'd seen them do it more than once. That knowledge was all but solidified his resolve. You couldn't possibly return to the originals. They would kill you, whether they meant to or not. Bruh, you talking big shit for someone who acting like they shit don't stink, for real. Tick, tick, tick. That's crazy. The marionette had to turn away, shaking his head. Finally, he reached his destination. He opened several cabinets before finally finding the one containing the glasses, and set one gently on the counter before shutting said cabinet closed. That's when he heard it. A small, faintly audible creak that sounded somewhere deeper in the house. The first thing to race to his thoughts was Springtrap, or the shadows. The originals were weak, not anywhere near strong enough to hold off the shadows should they try to take you. It would be the perfect opportunity. There was also, more reasonably, the option that your house maybe normally creaked. It wouldn't be uncommon at all, and he was sure enough damage had been caused to your home that it would make sense for it to creak often. Yeah, I would be running out the house. I'd be running out the house. No. He decided to not be paranoid, seeing as you weren't even here and some were safe, and he shook his head again, continuing his little mission. Instead of focusing on his steady rising heartbeat, he focused on you. Maybe you'd already be awake by the time you got back. Fuck, what would he even say to you? The last time you were together and conscious, you wanted to slaughter him. No matter what he did, he couldn't even attempt to shake the image of your furious visage from his mind. The house creaked. Yes, girl, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, he actually did a lot of messed up things. I think in the second book, it was kind of crazy. Okay, so maybe he needed to Okay, hold on. The house creaked again. Louder. Closer. Okay, maybe he needed to rethink that. That was definitely not just the house. It was too loud. Turning to look behind himself, Jack noted the long dark hallway beside the stairs. He had never been near there in your home before, which surprised him, knowing just how insatiable his own curiosity is. Certainly there were more rooms down there. Maybe a bedroom, another bathroom, some things like that. Aside that, Jack was now seriously doubting his previous thoughts. The shadows weren't clumsy or stupid enough to make such noise. Springtrap might, and that was a very big might, but it wasn't likely he would even do any of the grunt work himself. Now, who would that leave? The marionette turned back around to stare out at the kitchen window, seeing his reflection and the reflection of the space behind him faintly in the glass. He didn't really know himself why he felt such unease. It would easily have been some rookie burglar looking to steal. Your car wasn't in the drive, and the lights were all off. Your windows had been open, an admittedly amazing invitation for any passerby looking to make some money. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, that's crazy. Even despite this knowledge, his ears stayed keen. He awaited the noise. The awaited noise sounded directly behind him. And all Jack saw was a blood-red blur rush across the window's reflection before he found himself tackled to the tile floor. He hadn't been fast enough to dodge. Two unfortunately golden eyes leered into him with an animosity only he could ever manage at him. Blood dropped from the beast's face onto the floor beside the marionette. who did nothing but stare up at the monster with its hand wrapped around his neck with a blank yet indignant expression. You stayed behind to wait for her, he noted in an emotionless tone. The fox merely gave a grunt in reply, heaving and breathing heavy as blood poured below him. Jack quirked a brow as he studied his injuries. They were not the same ones from their fight, and the ones from Springtrap were fading now. He had seriously doubted that the originals would have the energy to inflict such deep wounds on each other, but the blood all over the living room was proof. It was strange, though. There was a good amount of blood he saw, but nowhere near enough now that it would have been the wounds that he had. Maybe the originals took the fight somewhere else? Where? A pair of violet orbs shot back up at the male towered over him, whose voice was shaking and steady, but a dangerous snarl nonetheless. YN. The beast miserably groaned her name. Where? Jack's eyes narrowed. Somewhere far safer than she would be here with you. The redhead let out an almost inhuman noise, an actual growl, tightening his hold on Jack's neck. Where? Where do you think? She's in dreamland. Period. Its head tilted slightly. Golden eyes narrowed in question, but never softening their unforgiving glare. Jack almost wanted to roll his eyes at the confusion. He scoffed. She has a fever. She's unconscious. I was here to get her medicine. Medicine. It echoed, its expression turning cold and hard. Fever. Medicine. Despite his anger at Fox's cluelessness, Jack couldn't help but be slightly curious. The male couldn't even form a full sentence. What exactly fucked him up so bad in such a short amount of time? Did he get beat over the head one time too many? Could they even retain brain damage? Was it brain damage? Or was it something so mentally fucking that it practically broke him into near muteness? With a fierce glare, the fox stood, releasing Jack's neck from the chokehold. The marionette watched in silence as the beast turned on its heels, disappearing from the room. Your front door opened and was slammed shut, and then it was gone. Jack held the medicine bottle tightly in his palm. Getting to his feet, he needed to get back to you. Shaking his head to clear his thoughts, he blinked and he was back at the pizzeria. Back in home with you. Back in the room with you. The room where you should have been. The room you were not. Blood littered the floor and stained the sheets in the bed you had been resting in. Fred's corpse slumped against the base of its sides. The bottle fell from the marionette's hand and dropped to the floor with an echoing thud, alerting the hardly conscious bearer of his presence. Drawing up his head, Fred's crystal orbs flared angrily as they tore into Jack's violet ones. You took too long. Girl, what? ¿Cómo se dice? Oh my lord. I can't believe we're already in chapter 38, guys. That's crazy. Okay. I think we can read one more. Let's just do one more, and we'll be all right. I think that's worth at least reading one more. And before I ask why I may or may not have been reading these on lives, just because I feel like it. But if I want me to read more stories like on life, though, I will trust. Anyways, chapter 38. Second POV. YN. Your head was swimming. What was that? Was someone calling you? YN. The voice echoed. YN, are you awake? There must have been a boulder set in your skull. You were either incredibly tired or enormously drugged. Your body couldn't move. You felt a hand on your cheek. Dove? Dove. Who was Dove? You were the so-called Dove? Who would ever call you that? How many nicknames did you have? Angel, Kitten, Ballerina, Sugar, now Dove? The voice gave a gentle yet exhausted sigh. Weren't you forgetting one? Dove, dove, dove. Gold. Your eyes somehow miraculously opened. Right at your side, Goldie loomed over you. His bright sapphire orbs wide as they met yours. YN. His voice was both a shocked gasp and a relief sigh. He took in a breath. You're awake. Were you? Didn't feel like it. Goldie. You felt a gnarly headache surfacing. Head. You moaned miserably. Head hurts. The blonde didn't waste any time, immediately parting from you in order to retrieve the medicine at your bedside table, along with a glass of water. Carefully, his gentle hand found its way under your head, lifting your upper body up enough to drink. If not for his hand holding you steady, your head would have knolled right back into the pillow beneath you. Goldie held the purple-colored liquid to your lips. Drink. His voice was soft and smooth as silk. You'll feel better, I promise. It tasted horrible. After managing it all down, Goldie offered you the water, but you were too tired to make another effort to drink anything. Settling the glass aside, he eased you back into the comfort of your pillow, studying you. His eyes were worried. His eyebrows were knit together as they usually were when he was troubled. He was pouting, but he probably didn't realize it. You're not hurt, are you? Hurt? You were pretty sure you were sick as hell, but not hurt? Not really. No. You practically whispered, no, but sick. You regained enough strength to fit whatever broken pieces made your mind into working form. And you could only think of two things. I'm in my room, and how the hell did I get here? What happened? The blonde male's frown deepened. You went out into the storm. The toys kidnapped you. What? That didn't sound right for some reason. What? You moved to sit up. His eyes went wide, and he rushed forward to urge you to lay back down. But you pushed his hands away. He stared at you with concern as he waited for you to steady your breath. Do you remember anything? He asked quietly. A loud crash sounded in the doorway. Your eyes darted quickly to see Chica standing there, her face pale and her body trembling. Oh, she mumbled. Oh, you're up. Her violet eyes dashed to Goldie instead. She was afraid. We made food. I was just letting you know. She couldn't meet your questioning stare. She was afraid to. Why? A tray with another bottle of medicine and a cracked glass lay at her feet. Chica scrambled to pick them up. Her blonde hair was in a disarray, naughty and unkempt. Her orbs were wide, wild, and anxious. And there were bags under them. There was a red hue to the whites of her eyes. She looked like she'd been crying recently. Yeah, the toys in the story are known to just assume instead of just communicate like normal human beings, but yeah. Even normal human beings find it hard to communicate trust. She stumbled out of the door as if she couldn't get out there fast enough, accidentally slamming it shut. You turned to Goldie with narrowed, questioning eyes. He looked tired. Goldie, too, had bags under his eyes. If you feel well enough, he suggested gently, maybe you could take a warm bath before going downstairs. I can run the water for you now if you'd like. His sapphire orbs examined you from top to bottom. You looked down at yourself. You were partially undressed. While it usually would have alarmed you, clothes you did have were damp, soaked, and probably full of mud. Goldie had said that you'd been out in the storm. You'd been out cold for what felt like forever. And you'd been wearing wet clothes the whole time. The others must have been too nervous or uncomfortable to fully undress you. You probably would have been imaginably embarrassed if they had. So in comparison, you were kind of mildly okay with what you had on now. Yeah, you sighed. Please. It wasn't until a good 5 minutes into the soak did you finally get your head on right and remembered some fairly important things. The last time Chica saw you, you had terrified her into sobbing against the wall in the corner during your tantrum. So no fucking wonder she was avoiding you. Second, you had gone out into the storm, and a pretty damn bad one at that, and you had gone to the garden. Third, Jack intercepted you at the fountain, and you beat the living shit out of him before promptly fainting. And that was the last you remembered. Then, you guessed, Goldie eventually found you at the pizzeria, out cold with a nasty fever, and brought you home to nurse you back to health, which he did a good damn job of. You would have rather stayed at the pizzeria, though. then having to deal with everything you left behind here in the storm. Gently, yet enough to cause some slight pain, the back of your head banged at the surrounding tiled wall. Foxy, from what you inferred of Goldie's nervous fidgeting at the mention of it, was still horribly battered from the fight. It wasn't actually a fight. Foxy would have beaten you hands down, mauled you to death probably. If it had been a real fight. No. He let you hit him. He let you make him suffer. You weren't so stupid as to think otherwise. Fuck. You were so not ready to face them. You wanted everything to go away. It took more than 10 minutes of simultaneously soaking in the warm bath water and sulking your still slightly fuzzled mind off before you got out. You couldn't put this off for forever, and you didn't have anything to lose by going downstairs to the down space of your own freaking house. An apology wouldn't cut it, but you weren't able to dole out one anyway. Suddenly, there was an ache in your chest. Ah, Princess, the last nickname. You remembered that now, too. The bathroom door was unlocked, and the steam from the small room floated into your bedroom like white smoke. You felt like you would be sick all over again. Bonnie wouldn't want that, would he? You could practically imagine the purple-haired male prancing around you worriedly, ushering you to go to bed, where he'd promise he'd take care of you, and then promptly cuddle with you. Bonnie had loved you, but would he now, after everything you did to the others? Your damp hair fell into your face, and you lowered your head in shame, as if Bonnie were right in front of you. The towel around you slipped from your grasp and fell to the floor with a soft thud. Cold instantly creeped up your wet skin, making you shiver. It shouldn't have been this cold in your room. You turned around. It should have been simple. Go in, apologize for being an asshat, and just do his damn best to talk to you and work things out. But nothing is ever that goddamn simple for Foxy. Yeah, here he was, frozen in the middle of your doorway. Door peeked open, his hands trembling, eyes nearly popped out of his skull, his face on fire, and your glorious fucking backside to him. Nikki. I can't help myself, I'm sorry. He was such a pervert, but he couldn't stop staring. It didn't matter that you were still pissed off at him, and that you hated him, even though you always took his breath away, and maybe a little bit of sanity too this time. Turn around. Go back downstairs, you fucking idiot. Don't fuck this up, you'll make everything worse. And still, he didn't move. The change of temperature from the cold air in the hall alerted you of his presence. You turned around, and Foxy came face to face with your stunning orbs, wide in shock, even as you reached for the nearest throwable item on your dresser. His golden eyes stayed glued to your beautiful, bountiful, you-know-what, bruh. Get out! A bottle of hairspray nailed him clean in the face. He gave a yelp of surprise, then sputtered out a quick, hitting puberty again squeak that was supposed to resemble an apology, and slammed the door shut, just missing a hairbrush that would have given him a black eye. A red blur dashed down the stairs, past the dining room, and into the guest room faster than any of the 3 pair of eyes could process it. Chica whimpered. Her shoulders slumped sadly, and her grip tightened nervously around the plates in her hands. She sounded so angry still. Angry. The blonde girl turned to the brunette at her side, who bore a curious expression on his face. That didn't sound angry at all. Well, as it did. Well, I don't know what that was. His fire orbs lit up slightly with an answer. Embarrassed, maybe? Why would she be embarrassed, though? The sound of something probably fragile met their ears. Both a pair of violet and a pair of sapphire orbs turned to look at the now vermilion blonde across the dining room. If looks could kill. She was taking a bath. As the words left his mouth, both Freddie and Goldie moved wordlessly to the opposite parts of your home, leaving a shocked Chica to gape at the direction Foxy went in. Goldie went straight to your room. He knocked once. Wyan, don't open the fucking door! Freddie, on the other hand, moved right down the hall toward Foxy. "Hey, Foxy?" A barely audible whimper was heard beyond the door. "You knocked before you walked in, right?" No, the fuck he did not. No, the fuck he did not. He decided today was the day. Today was the day. That's literally insane. Well, guys, that is gonna be the last chapter I am gonna be reading to you guys, which I know, shock. I'm sorry, guys. It's our, how long have we been on this live? Like 1,000 trillion million thousand years. It's okay, guys. We be all right. We'll be all right. Honestly, I don't know how many I think I read at least like a couple chapters or something. I'm not sure. Am I crazy or am I not? The drama. Oh no, bruh. That's crazy. Nah, bruh. I'm a tired baby girl. How long have we been like for real live? I feel like it's been like at least 2 to 3 hours, maybe. Probably like 2 hours. I don't know, y'all. That's impressive for me. If anything has glitched out or anything like that, y'all let me know. I will personally look into it. I promise. I will personally be looking into it. Because I just, you know how, I want what's best and everything. So, absolute tea. Oh, excuse me. Kind of like, I just died for like 2 fat seconds. 2 fat seconds, I just died. So, hopefully nothing glitched out for you guys or anything like that. And hopefully everything has been damn near like tea. So, hold on, I'm going to we read to chapter 38, which is crazy, guys. That's amazing. Because I'll tell you what, it is not easy, bro, reading all that. I'm just really glad that I was able to, that it was able to get through. Tee. Well, thank you for joining me, hun. I really do appreciate it. And I'm glad you enjoyed the live because I don't go live often because I always like fuck it up a little bit. Like at least a little bit. But I'm getting the hang of it. I have like a website I do it from now to make it a little easier for me and a little more customizable. I have this, there's this thing called like Streamlabs. I've just been using that and low-key, fucking lit. It's fucking lit. I like it. So, I mean, it works out, so I'm not complaining. Anywho, guys, I hope you did enjoy it, though. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. If you guys have any suggestions or any, like, input or anything of how I could improve these lives or anything like that, y'all let me know, okay? Because your girl always would like some suggestions. And as for future... Hold on, I'm kind of too... As for future, like, stories and stuff that I'm going to be reading. So... As far as I'm concerned, hold on, let me see if I can show you guys, because I think I can actually show you guys. Hold on, it's going to be a little bigger this time. Hold on. This is going to be a temporary, like, hold it. You're going to have to hold on, guys. Hold on, chat. Hold on. I'm going to have to go to my profile, which, yes, guys, y'all can follow me on Wattpad if you'd like. I'll follow y'all too, no worries. I do have some old stories on there. Stop questioning it, okay? We're just gonna have to not question it, okay? Thank you. Thank you for not questioning it. Okay, now I'm squishing this back down because it's too damn big. There we are. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, we are still reading around 4 to 5 stories. Now, I have not read the official Yandere's ex-worker that like so many people have wanted me to read. I am going to read that. As for Amnesia, we are going to be reading that soon. I think after this one, I actually have to read, what's it called? Hold on. Let me get back to you guys. Give me like 2 seconds. Give me like 2 seconds. Let's see. Because I have it around here somewhere. Hold on. Yes, and if you guys are curious of all the stories that I have read, I do have a list on Wattpad about it, and it is public. Just so y'all know. Sometimes I wish I knew like how to privatize my shit, but I don't know how. But you know, y'all are lucky, I guess. For real, I guess. So, it's from this author, Camster Hall. Sadly, she did pass away. So this is literally the last bit of story I have to read. I don't think you want to know how long I've been reading her series. I've been reading her series for years, and 1,000 more years. I've been reading it for a very, very, very long time. It's just because her books are very, very famously long, and just a lot to read. But worth reading. Hold on, did it even add here? Yes, it did. Okay, so here's in total the stories we are reading. As far as I know, this one hasn't gotten an update. Little Lady of Phantom Hive Manor. This one hasn't gotten an update as of recently. As far as I could tell, I have read it to 100%. It was last published in October. They might update, they might not. If they don't, worst case scenario, then I put that in another list I have a club of stories I'm technically reading if they ever get updated. If they don't, they just don't. But yes, this one we're definitely probably this one's probably the one we're gonna be reading next, or it's gonna be the official Yandere's. I don't know, either one. I'll start with them. I low-key am excited to finally get her Idolation Slasher's X Reader kind of over with. Guys, I've been reading this since I think high school or the end of middle school, so that's been a long time. I'm graduated, I have a job now. Like, it's been a while. It's because they have around 4 stories that are around 100 or more, so long. Like, it's long, it's very long, and it took me a long time to read the I think it was book 3 because of a lot of like life events that happened, so it was like very severely delayed, but I got it done, so teehee. And then this one people voted in, so I'm going to be reading that soon. As for Amnesia, people also voted to get Amnesia 2 read, and it's good. If y'all got a story y'all want to like start out, I would watch my because I already have a playlist. I would watch Amnesia 1 and then get into Amnesia 2. It's good shit. I tell you, it's good. I do have I wanted to do a whole nother vote coming out, but I didn't want to start it until I was like, okay, let me get on a roll. My goal is to finish this story first before I put out a vote, which, because it is 11 chapters, it has a quick end. It's the official ending because sadly, like I said, the author passed away. But yeah, as for some other stories, I do have stories I would like to read to y'all. It is over here. Y'all can always check it out if you'd like. I honestly want to read this one so bad, you guys. This one is so good. I love it. And then this one, don't even get me started. Absolute peak and hilarious. And they're both completed. As far as I know. Let's see. This one's also really good, but this one's incredibly long. This one's basically a ship of Gojo x Sakuna. I know it usually doesn't work, like, obviously in real life, but it's really good. It's really good. It's really good. This one is actually a comic. I found it originally on Instagram, and I was really interested in it because I was like, basically, it's when you chat, when, you know, like Chai AI or like, what was so popular back in time? Hold on, I'm trying to remember. What was so popular back in time? I'm trying to remember. Character AI. That shit was so popular back in my day. Basically, we're like in that scenario where we're chatting with an AI bot with like imagining them as our favorite character, which, in matter of fact, the silver guy right there, actually hacked into it, and instead of her chatting with an AI, she's chatting with an actual person. It's literally insane. I was like, what? That's crazy. And just goes with the story. And I'm like, what? That's literally insane. I don't know. I think that's crazy to me. I don't know. But it's really good stuff. I saw it on Instagram, and I would really, really, really like to read it. This one's pretty good. I don't remember too much about. I've read a lot of stories. Okay, my memory is not perfect, but that one's good. This one is Marble Hornets, mainly like creepypasta. You're working at a gas station. This one's really good. I think I may have added this one by accident, but this one's pretty good, I think, if I remember correctly. Now, when I was in my pirate ship, like, oh my god, like, escape to the seas, like, another sea type thing, I was reading, like, a lot of, like, pirate ship stories. These two absolutely peak, but I know one of them were not finished or ever completed. T. As for some more creepypasta ones, I love my favorite, like, series of like Slendermans is Splenderman. Splenderman is my absolute favorite. Basically the opposite of Slenderman. Very kind, very, very nice. I love Splenderman. Like when I saw an edit of him one day handing us balloons to make us feel better on Instagram, I nearly squealed so much that I might have exploded my microphone. Oh my gosh, I'll have no idea. And then some BHMA ones. I don't remember that one is. This one, guys, I was supposed to read this, y'all, a million years ago. This one. But it's on hiatus, and it's a really unique storyline. I think a lot of y'all would really like Hey There Demons. But I actually have to reread it because it was so, like how long I would have to wait for those updates. Like, oh no, girl. That's crazy. And then these are some other ones. I really like this one because y'all know Carl Heisenberg from Resident Evil? Yeah. That one's good. That one is good. And then I found one of Trenderman. I read this like in the very beginning of my Wattpad career. Yes, career. Love it. I have someone spread across like Quotive, AO3, and some other websites that I probably put on. I collect them on this like sheet. Windows or something. No, on Docs. So yeah, I have like a whole list of what I want to read and like various things. Yeah, I have a lot of stories here, guys. I have a lot of stories that definitely need to be revealed. Anywho, guys, I really do appreciate for you guys joining me on this journey and just being here in general. I know I'm loud and can be a little flexy-wushy, but I do appreciate you guys really being here and, you know, being chill and chilling out with your girl. I appreciate it. Honestly, hopefully this live went pretty smoothly with my new computer, guys. If you're curious on what I got, I don't know what it's called. Hold on. Let me rewire my brain real quick. I think I found it. Hold on. Okay, so this is a the laptop's name is actually laptop, a whole bunch of random numbers. It is a Intel. It has an Intel Core of 5. It has Intel Core Ultra 5, and then it has a 16 GB RAM, and then the Intel Arc is blah blah blah. The GPU is 8 GB, and then 128 MB, and then basically it has 1 TB of storage, which is crazy and awesome. The graphics, I already told y'all that. I'm pretty sure this is an Acer computer. Low-key kind of peak. I got this, I believe, at Costco 1,000 years ago. I low-key love it. I'm just kidding. I got it like a couple days ago, so I'm still like setting it up and trying things and all that shazazz. So that's why y'all see me kind of like tweaking the live and everything or check things, because for how much it was, it better fucking work. You know what I'm saying? It better fucking work. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining in on my live. I really do appreciate you guys. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, y'all let me know in the comments down below or in the live, because I'll probably be reading through it to make sure if I missed any questions or suggestions or blah, blah, blah. I love you guys so much. Thank y'all so much. Bye for now, y'all. Peace out.